Ah, welcome to the Velvet Room, a place made between dream and reality, mind over matter. In this series, we're going to be going into Persona spin-offs. Today's Persona spin-offs that we're going to be going into are Persona 4 dancing compared to the Persona 5 dancing. Get ready, it's going to be a bit of a doozy. Alright, so let's talk about Persona 4 Dancing All Night first, okay? Persona 4 Dancing All Night is a level-based rhythm game that follows the investigation team after the events of Persona 4. You progress through each stage by maintaining a certain amount of applause by the end of the song to progress. Without spoiling much of the campaign, the story starts off with Risa Kujikawa's return to being an idol after an entire year break, so she enlists the help of her fellow members of the investigation team. That's why they learn to dance and stuff. But after an event that involves Kanami's kitchen, led by Kanami Mashita, who up until now has only been mentioned in Persona 4, going missing in the not TV world. And yes, they don't really say it's the TV world, but it's like it, which is like, okay, so then what the fuck is it then? But yeah, so the story isn't that great to me, but at least they put like somewhat effort in it to try to make like it more like a game experience, and it kind of succeeds because we get more insight on characters like Kanami, like Mashita, who previously was just like Risa's rival from like over the phone, which is like, it's pretty cool that we got like a lot more insight on this game compared to like what we get in the sequel installment that we'll get onto later. The gameplay centers around you choosing a song, a character, and a supporting character from Persona 4 and like dancing to the song and completing it so you can free the shadows into yellow ribbons by using your persona that's now using like an instrument. Fucking sick. And it's really fun to like see like the characters talk to each other and stuff when like you get a fever mode and like you can bring on your partner on the stage. Like it's really fun sometimes. I love their interactions like on the stage and like how, you know, Naoto and Kanji are kind of like, it's Naoto, when Naoto's just playing it cool like a fucking cucumber, because that's what she is, a cool cucumber. And the fact that it gives each of the characters like their own new 3D renders is pretty fucking sick. And yes, I know Persona Q had new 3D renders, but that was in the Q style, right? This game actually has them in the style that like Sojima kind of made. The gameplay isn't terrible either. I mean, it won't be for everyone because it's a fucking rhythm game and you have to like pay attention, otherwise, you know, you won't be able to like progress your levels, but it really tries to hold your hand with some of the like buffs they give you, like opposed to the debuffs that you can put on like optionally, right? Some of the remixes are a bit but like everyone can admit that dance is a fucking bop and a half. And I like how it progresses from songs, so like you have songs for Persona 4 Arena or Persona Q or Persona 4 Golden, and then like those remixes and stuff, so it's pretty cool. And oh god, the ending song that you get for completing every single stage, that one's that's a good one, but I won't talk about that right now. Included in this game are also a bunch of cosmetics that you can buy from the cosmetics store, which is actually like the TV version of TV Store, which is run by Tanaka from Tanaka's Shady Commodities. And you know what? I like it. I love the shop and how like he like talks every time you buy something, or he gives a little descriptor of what you're about to buy. So there's a lot of like different weird costumes and shit that you can put on, like Halloween costumes, Phoenix Ranger Fetterman costumes, all that type of stuff. It's also where you can buy like those buffs and debuffs I was talking about to either enhance your gameplay or make it much more worse. And I wear some of the debuffs just because, not just for points, but you know, I like playing the notes while they're super fast. I don't mind if they're reversed, but you know, I just like having a little bit more of a challenge. But making the cosmetic store Tanaka's Shady Commodities really gives it more of an atmosphere to it. Like, and this game has plenty of atmosphere, which I like about it, because what really builds the atmosphere is the kind of disturbing nature that like you're dancing for the shadows so you can release them, because if you fail, the shadows will fucking swarm you, killing you all. That's a thing in the campaign that they talk about, where it's like they're all getting like their souls sucked through these yellow ribbons and shit, and they have to perform this dance to like make them all like remember who they are or some shit. And so the connotations of you losing really makes it scarier that you're dancing in front of all these fucking shadows to appease them. And I find that really awesome and really cool. That was the same thing, but it gets me excited, okay? Now I've been talking it up a little bit, but it also has its own fibs, right? So when you're dancing, a lot of the notes sometimes have like are not really as noticeable as they are. So, for example, the little little swirl one they use the circle pads for in the game are kind of like missable because they're just like green. It's literally just a green ring, and you can miss that if you're trying to go for an all-night run and you're like trying to get, you know, King Crazy, which is the full combo equivalent, my Bandori flavors, of getting every single like note in either the great or perfect category, no goods or misses. But let me tell you something, the game has enough challenge as it is in some points. Like the entire campaign, I kind of was fucking dying because it uses normal note speed. I used a very fast note speed because I feel like it can connect to the rhythm more when on the controller. But since it's at a normal note speed, I find myself like prehensively doing something because I think it's faster when it's actually much more fucking slower and I miss the note. And the game can feel like a bit like janky sometimes. Like maybe like you will get this, but I get a little bit of lag sometimes when I play, which can kind of fuck you up if like you're trying to get a King Crazy and like, or if you have like the debuff set where it's like a missed note means the game will just automatically end, and that could fucking suck. Overall, not a bad game. It's got a lot of charm to it, a lot of like atmosphere and world building, and it gives us some more insight on characters that we haven't really gotten insight on before. So I rate it about a 7 out of 10. Alright, so let's talk about Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight is basically the sequel / successor to Persona 4 Dancing All Night. But this game is not meant to be played alone because there's also another game, Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight, but I'm not talking about that right now. Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight is a level-based rhythm game that follows the Phantom Thieves of Heart. I'm guessing a little bit after the events of Persona 5, just given off dialogue options early in the game, right? The game's conflict centers around Lavenza and Elizabeth, who are the attendants from Persona 5 and 3 respectively, getting into this argument about who has the better guest because of some events that happen in Persona 4 Dancing All Night, right? So they pit their teams against each other to be able to see who's the better, like, dancer, and the loser goes to fucking hell. But the thing about this game is that it doesn't take place in, like, the shadow world or in real life, right? Because it takes place in the Velvet Room. You're dancing on the Velvet stage, and you're basically dancing for human subconscious, right? The human heart. There's not a campaign in this game. You watch social link events. Yes, I said social link events. This game does not have its own campaign. You basically get the story when you do more social link events. I think that's what it is for Caroline and Justine. This is all memory, right? But the way you get these social link events is basically by doing various challenges on various stages, right? So it's like, oh, wear this outfit or wear this cosmetics for a stage, or wear this many like debuffs or buffs in a stage. Just like in Persona 4 Dancing All Night, each character has 2 stages they can dance to, culminating into all the entire team dancing together for the final stage, right? Each character has their own unique dance moves that they can do with each other. So, you know, like Ryuji can dance with An and Futaba and Yusuke, but you have to unlock these by playing the different difficulties in the levels, just like in Persona 4 Dancing All Night. Gameplay-wise, this game has some of the most fucking awesomest, prettiest models of these characters we've seen to date. And that's saying something, because literally every game before this one, the models have kind of looked a bit like mashed potatoes, right? You're paying attention more to the 2D cutouts than you are the 3D models, but like, this game doesn't have those cutouts. You're paying attention to those 3D models because they're fucking super beautiful enough that you can pay attention to them without being like, huh, doesn't Ryuji look like fucking paste in this scene? Going on to more gameplay, it finally fixes the fucking rhythm, like, notes. So, rather than it being just a green circle, it's this, like, big bombastic blue one that, like, you can't fucking miss. Alright, now let's talk about the gameplay problems. Look, this game looks beautiful, right? But it kind of is a bit boring, at least, like, atmosphere-wise, because in Persona 4 Dancing All Night, there's this inherent danger, right? You're surrounded by shadows. And if you fail, these shadows are gonna fucking kill you, or at least, like, turn you into one of, like, whoever it is slaves, right? But this game, it doesn't have that. You're dancing for the seas of the heart, and if you fail, then it's basically just like, oh, boo-hoo, you know, cry again, just do it again, you know? The big thing that was removed is the characters no longer summon their personas at the end of the stage, like, making the shadows free, which is kind of like, huh, that's, like, sucks, because, like, well, Persona 3 and Persona 5 have like really cool like Persona stuff. And the fact that that's missing from the game kind of just like kills a lot of the fun, because what made Persona 4 dancing's all like kind of level beat fun was that you get to see your Persona jam out. In this game, you just stand still. The stages are also just like Persona 5 location riffs, so not really like anything interesting, and a lot of the songs are like that too. Now, the resolution of the game is all dandy, but like, there's one thing that kind of fucking sucks, right? And that's the fact that the entire game, we're built up that we're gonna be dancing Seas, or if you're playing Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight, you're gonna dance with the Phantom Thieves, but there's no stage that corresponds with that. There is no stage in the game where you dance with anyone from fucking Seas or the Phantom Thieves, which is like, all that tension of like this being this big dance-off at the end of the game completely goes nowhere. The final stage is Yaldabaoth. All in all, this game isn't much of a letdown, but just like adequate, because it looks pretty, the music's good, and like it's really fun for a little bit unless you beat all the stages, which is like, that's when it's kind of like levels out a bit. But that's how Persona 4 Dancing All Night was. This game just feels like a lot less like filled, like it's a bit gutted. My final ranking on Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight is a 5 out of 10. Now you might be thinking, whoa, wasn't the like Persona 4 rating a 6 out of 10? And yes, this game's adequate to me. I had a lot of fun playing it, so that's my personal ranking on it. I didn't really consider how much was not really in it until I started playing both games side by side, and I was like, huh, there's a lot of shit missing in Persona 5 Dancing and Starlight. But the thing is, if you're playing it to have fun, playing a rhythm game with like your favorite characters, then you're gonna enjoy it, you know what I mean? And that, dear contractor, is where our tales of Persona's dancing games comes to an end. However, if you enjoyed the tale I told, then I insist you like, comment, and subscribe for more of this content. The night is waning. It is almost time for you to wake up.